Sharp Game here, coming at you from chooseyourrelationship.com. And in this video, I'm going to talk about my experiences in Mexico. Because, you know, like a couple of days ago, we had a round table discussion about going to Cancun and going to Tijuana and Mexico City and all the spots that people don't talk about as well. And I noticed when it was my turn to talk at the table over the weekend while we were having a discussion, my experience was quite different from the rest of the people in the room, which was kind of interesting. You know, that's what I thought at the moment. And you know what? I don't really have anything bad to say about Mexico. I didn't have any bad experience with the people, the local people especially. You know, and I had one run-in with a white guy that's from the Netherlands. You know, and that's a story for another day. You know, but basically he was just trying to take advantage of me, being that I'm from America. He's trying to be disrespectful, but I checked his ass real quick. But that's a story for another day. But besides that, and you know besides that incident, you know, I pretty much had a good experience in Mexico. I mean, and I've been going to Mexico for the past 18 years. I've been there more times than I can remember, really. Because I used to be in the Navy, and I was stationed in San Diego for about 8 months. So, you know, if you know anything about Ocean Boulevard in San Diego, you know that the border is probably 25-30 minute ride. So it's not that far at all. So Tijuana is right there. And then we used to go to Mexico like every other weekend. And you know, Tijuana is pretty much a tourist spot. But you gotta be, you know, in the tourist spots, you know, I try to stay away from, because I know everything is set up for tourists. And everybody in Mexico, they got businesses, and then you got a lot of people there waiting for people to cross the border. So, but I'm not really a big fan of tourist spots, because the prices tend to be inflated. They tend to be higher than what the usual price is. And I get it. They're just trying to do business, you know, because they know a lot of the people that come across the border, they're going to pay regardless of the price, which it makes sense, because it's like, if I'm not willing to pay the price, I'm not going to even go over there and from the get-go. So I get it. I don't have a problem with that. But then I went to Mexico City, and it's huge, man. It's a very big city. I'm not really a big fan of mega big cities like that. You know, I'm not really a big fan of places like New York. LA is okay. I like Chicago. Atlanta, yeah, it's okay. But I'm not really a big fan of the major cities, you know, because I know it's not what they make it out to be. And then, you know, after Mexico City, I went to Cancun and the surrounding areas of Cancun, like Cozumel, the island that's out there, and Playa del Carmen, the areas, small town outside of Cancun. And you know what? I came to a conclusion that it's better, this is my opinion, it's better for me to stay away from the tourist areas and go to the small towns. You know, because I went everywhere. I went to the village. I've been out in the country. I've been to the tourist areas. You know, I go to the spots where you're probably not gonna see no tourists. You know, I go to those spots because I get to hear the real deal, what's really going on in Mexico. You know, I don't like really following the crowd. I kind of like doing my own thing when I go to these countries and places. That's why I'm not really a big fan of tours. I don't really. Some tours I just don't want to go. I mean, a lot of people will say, "Well, why not? Why?" I mean, just if you want to. I mean, if you really want to go somewhere, I mean, just rent a car or at least find somebody that you know, or I mean, if you know somebody that live out there, and have them show you around. But taking a tour with a tour guide, and you got probably 10, 20, 30 people at the time, and you're on a bus, and and the bus ride is probably 30 minutes to an hour. I'm not really a big fan of that. You know, I'd rather just keep it simple with just me and the people I'm rolling with, and maybe somebody I know, or maybe I might meet somebody over there, some local person, that can point me in the right direction or something like that. But I've never been a really big fan of tours. And the food is delicious in Mexico. Because I'm a seafood happens to be my favorite food. So if you love seafood, you're gonna love it. The seafood is fresh, you know, and that's hard to find in America if you don't live on the coast. So the seafood is fresh. It's to this day probably some of the best seafood I've ever had. To this day, and I'm from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. So it doesn't get too much better than that, in my opinion. You know, I've been to places like LA and all over the West Coast, and I've been to Florida, I've been to Miami, but I don't think it's better than Mexico and Myrtle Beach. I don't think so. You know, it's just the way how the food goes down when you put it in your mouth. You know, the texture of the food. You know, you're not gonna get that if you live inland in the United States of America. And then another thing I like about Mexico is the women are beautiful. Women are beautiful, man. You know, I don't think I really seen an unattractive woman. Now, I seen some overweight women. I seen some women where I was like, well, you know what? She's okay, but she's not for me. But I didn't think she was unattractive. And I didn't really see. I didn't really. Plus, where we stayed at the last time, I actually went to Cancun the last 3 times with a woman, And on the resort, the women are beautiful. I'm talking like drop dead gorgeous. And you know, of course, I think that's on purpose. That's just my way of thinking. You know, I think that's on purpose. I think the people that hired the staff knew what they were doing. And the people in Mexico are very easygoing. You know, the local people very easygoing. Pretty much. I put it like this. People deal with you accordingly. Who you are, how you carry yourself. And if you're a black male, you won't have any problems if you go over there by yourself and you're trying to campaign for the women. You won't have any problems. You know, that's based on my experience. Now, it's like I say, they deal with you accordingly. It's really all on you. It's fair game. And another thing that surprised me in Mexico is a lot of the areas I felt like I was in America. You know, I didn't feel like I was in another country until I went to the resorts or until I went to the smaller towns. Or till I went to the village. That's when I felt like I was in another country. But when you go to the tourist areas, the vibe is like, you know, this is America. The clubs is like, yo, this is America. You know, so they cater towards the tourists big time. And it's a lot of women. And you know, I was kind of surprised, especially going to Cancun. That's like a hot spot. So you're gonna see a lot of Americans there. A lot of people from California. People from I had met some people from Canada, like places like Toronto. And they're regulars. I mean, a lot of people, they say they come here. They say, hey, we come here like once a year. So it's like, and this one older lady, she said she's been going to Cancun for 8 years straight. So it's like, for a lot of people, it's like, that's their spot. And then another thing you have to be aware of is a lot of those women that keep coming back like that. They're not coming back. They're not gonna keep coming back unless they really like it. And I've learned over the years that a lot of these women, especially from America, are going over there because they trying to get down and dirty. So they looking for the cocoanuts, if you get my drift. And this is why you have a lot of women that go to places like Mexico, Jamaica, Haiti, South Africa. They go places like Cape Town. You know, Cape Town, that's maybe that's a little far, but Mexico, that's not that far. That's not that too much of a stretch if you live in the South, like I am, or if you live in California. That's not too much of a stretch. You know what I mean? So, you know, a lot of people say, you know, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So I guess they take that same mentality. They say, hey, what happens in Mexico stays in Mexico, or stays in Jamaica. So a lot of women like to get away. So if you're a single guy, you can campaign, because there's a lot of older women that's staying at these resorts, and a lot of them are divorced, and then you got some of them that are still married, but they just want to get away and do their thing. And if you campaign, put your bid in, hey, you never know what could happen. Because it's been a couple times where I was with a woman, and you out, if you're at the pool, drinking, or doing your swimming, or doing whatever you do, and you might, every once in a while, some woman might just start talking, and a lot of times, a lot of women will make a move or hit on you in a subtle way, right? And it's been a few times it went over my head. I didn't really get it until later, until it was time to go, or until she left, right? So there's a lot, you're gonna run into that, and it's gonna happen when you least expect. So you really have a lot of these older women, or a lot of these married women that's been married for a long time. They want to get away, and they want to wild out and have a good time. So if you position yourself and campaign, hey, y'all might be able to make some shit happen. And then you got the local women. They're cool as hell. As a matter of fact, I met a couple people that live over there that's from America. So you have a lot of that shit going on. A lot of brothers is moving over there, man. They're starting businesses, and some got jobs and all kind of shit going on. So I mean, you can make some shit happen, but you have to have a plan. You can't go to these countries and have a job mentality. You gotta have that entrepreneur spirit, and you can make it happen, man. But it's not gonna be shit. It ain't easy. It ain't easy in America for most non-white people. But if you got a plan, man, and if you meet the right people, and if you're the right kind of person, people will gravitate towards you, man. Women will gravitate towards you. Women can't help it. They like being in the company of a man, a person that's doing some shit. He's going somewhere. He's trying to make a difference. Not only in his life, but somebody else's life. So women gravitate towards that shit. People gravitate towards that shit. I mean, you're always gonna have some haters. That comes with the territory. But I don't really have. I've had a lot of good experiences in Mexico, man. What I would say, if you go to Cancun, just like I said, don't stay in the tourist area the whole time. Go to the outskirts, like places like Playa del Carmen, and go to the island, Cozumel Island. Drift out. It's not that hard to get around. You can rent a car. Car rentals, like what, $10 a day or some shit like that. So, and plus, it's easy to get around, man. You can take tours if you like, but I would stay away from the tours. Personally, you're better off just renting a car and driving. Really. And no one's gonna bother you. They just myth that somebody's gonna rob you and all that shit. Well, if you're a white guy, maybe you might get robbed. I don't know. But because I've known a couple white guys that have gotten robbed. But when it comes to the brothers, Nah, they kind of embrace us for the most part. You know, you always gonna have run into one bad apple here and there, but for the most part, they embrace black people. They're kind of curious about black people, and they know that we get a bad rap over here in America. So when you go over there to Mexico, you know, they kind of embrace us, and they kind of meet you halfway, and they say, "Hey, what's up, man? What's up, brother?" You know. But one last thing: if you can't take the heat, don't go to Mexico, cause it's hot and humid, like at least 8-9 months out of the year, and it never gets cold, but and around this time of the year, like it's very hot and humid. So if you go, you gotta stay hydrated. You gotta, drink a lot of water and just make sure you're in shape. So if you like what you heard, subscribe to my channel. Check out my blog, chooseyourrelationships.com. Until next time, Sharp Game is out. Peace.